Hello friends, neighbors, and fellow VEDSies. It's day 14 of VEDS, and it's time to write a song. So Jesse set me this challenge basically to see how long it could take me to write a 4-chord song. And he said I could make the song at any length that I wanted to, but I think I'm going to go ahead and try to stick to a basic pop song structure of verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, chorus. So it is currently 3:30. I have tried to keep my mind as unoccupied from this as absolutely possible and occupied with other things so that I won't be like thinking about what exactly I want to do with this throughout the week, and I can like actually accurately time how long it's going to take me to do this. So actually, Jesse, you removed one of the more difficult aspects of the songwriting process for me, because usually I struggle not to use the 4-chord structure. I try to come up with something a little bit more creative than that, but now I have to use the 4-chord structure, so that little hurdle is out of the way. So I'm going to first be focusing on the lyrics. That's usually the first step whenever I write a song, is I try to come up with the lyrics first, and usually when I'm writing the lyrics I have kind of a loose sort of melody going in my head, so we'll see how that goes in relationship to the 4-chord structure. This part's probably going to be a little bit boring. Okay, so the basic structure of a pop song that I'm going to be sticking to is you have a verse, which sort of introduces everything. You usually have something of a pre-chorus, a transition from the verse to the chorus, and then you have, of course, your chorus, which is generally, if not the exact same words, at least kind of the same idea every single time. Then you usually have the second verse. Sometimes you just skip the pre-chorus altogether, or you might include it again. Who knows? We'll see how whimsical I'm feeling. And then you sing the chorus one more time, and then there's some sort of a break in the song between this sort of familiar section of verse, chorus. There's a break in the song. It could be something with a completely different melody or harmonic structure. It could be just an instrumental playing of the chorus or the verse or something. Or it could be a rap. I'm probably not going to do that, but a lot of pop songs include raps in the middle of them, just because. And it usually ends with maybe a third verse, maybe a half of a verse, but usually just a couple of playings of the chorus for good measure, and then you're done. I talked about this a little bit last year in a video, but that was also on my second channel, so a lot of you probably didn't see it. But pop song structure is actually similar in a lot of ways to classical structure, in that it kind of follows a sonata format. Sonata form and pop form and a lot of other actually storytelling structures follow a 3-act structure, where the first act introduces your concepts and whatnot, your second act develops them, and your third act brings them to a resolution. So our first act in a pop song would be the verse, chorus at the beginning, which establishes that familiarity and establishes what the song is going to be about and all that sort of thing. Then you have your bridge, where there's usually some sort of shift, there's some sort of change, something is being developed, and this is usually where in the context of the song there's some sort of revelation or some sort of switch in the character telling the story or whatever. And then in the third part you've got your resolution. In this case it's usually the chorus just being hammered away. So anyway, I've now talked for about 4 minutes about this, and so I'm gonna get to writing.
My life is brilliant, my love is pure, I saw an angel, of that I'm sure.
Okay, I've literally just written a verse where I describe what it's like to stock fruit in the produce department. This song's gonna be a wild ride.
If I could, then I would. I'd go wherever you will go. Can you feel the love tonight?
Okay, so at this point I now have a verse, a pre-chorus, and a chorus, which is enough of a sort of bare-bones structure for me to start thinking about melody and harmonic structure and all that good stuff. I'll still have to work out a bridge at some point, but this will get me at least 75–80% of the way through the song. The guy outside decided to start weed whacking because everything hates me today. So I'm going to work in the key of D because I guess I just want to. I might switch it later, but it'll be pretty easy to do because it's just the 4 chords. So the 4 chords then are going to be D, A, B minor, G, and then repeat ad nauseum. I have to figure out what kind of style I want this to be too. That sounds like a commercial jingle. Ladies and delicious,
myself in times of trouble. Mother Mary comes to me.
No woman, no cry.
Yeah, Mama, this surely is a dream.
I come from a land down under. Red, white, and blue. Funny things you do.
See, the difficulty with doing this as a four-chord song is that I have to make the melody of the verse, the pre-chorus, and the chorus all completely different with the same harmonies through all of them. So it's difficult to know exactly with the four-chord song whether it's the chords themselves that make it so ubiquitous or whether it's the order of the chords. So, a little music theory lesson. When we talk about chords, we generally refer to them in numbers, because if we refer to them as like D, A, B minor, that doesn't work as well when we start to switch keys. So we just kind of refer to them each as numbers. And the way the numbers work is you've got your 7 notes of the scale, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, and then do again. That's 7 plus the do on top. So you give each one of them a number, 1 through 7, and then when you build the chord off of that note, whatever it might be, with the 3rd and then the 5th above that note, then that chord becomes the 1 chord if it's on the 1st note, the 2 chord if it's on the 2nd note, the 3 chord if it's on the 3rd note, and so on. And so when we talk about the 4-chord song, the numbers that we would talk about would be 1, 5, 6, 4. 6 is minor. We don't call it minor because it's just understood that the way that the chord builds naturally is minor and the others are major. Now those 4 chords in different orders also find themselves in other songs. For example, there's this chord progression that you may have heard before. Very big in songs in the 50s. That's 1, 6, 4, 5. And then you could also do the 4-chord structure in reverse. You could do a 1, 4, 6, 5. That one comes up in a lot of the Christian rock songs that I play. You could start with 4 and go 4, 5, 1. Basically starting in the middle of the 50s progression. You could also start in the middle of the original 4-chord song progression, start with the 6th chord to make it sound a little bit more sinister. So Jesse, I just re-watched your video where you gave me this challenge, and I realized that even though you talk about the 4 chords of pop music and you give some examples of songs that use the 4 chords of pop music or illustrate how a bunch of different songs use the 4 chords of pop music, you never actually tell us what those 4 chords are. You do mention in a clarification that you're talking not just about the chords themselves but about specific progressions of them, but you never actually say which progression you're talking about. And I am going to take advantage of this technicality. And I am going to use the 4-chord song that you were probably talking about, the 1, 5, 6, 4, but I'm also going to throw in some other 4-chord progressions that use those 4 chords that have also been used in pop music. I don't think I'm cheating here because these are 4 chords of pop music, just not maybe the 4 chords of pop music that you were specifically referring to, though I am going to use that progression as well. So that's how I'm gonna get out of this.
Separate my double rainbow all the way across the sky. Yeah, so intense.
I want to add other chords. This is hard. This is hard for me because even using different progressions, I want to add other chords. I want to make this song more interesting. How can I make it more interesting without adding more chords? Okay, I'm gonna switch back to writing words now, and we'll see how that goes. I'm gonna actually cut off the footage here. I've been working now for about 45 minutes on this, and so I'm gonna keep going with the words. Alright, so at now 4:58, the song is done, which means I have spent about an hour and 20 odd minutes working on this, not including time spent attending to the dog and talking to you guys. So a little over an hour to write a song. I don't know that it's very good, but it is a song, and it is in the pop song structure, and it tells a story of sorts. So what I ended up doing is I have, it's 4-chord structure all the way through, but the order and the structure of the chord changes from section to section. So the verses have the 1, 5, 6, 4 chord structure that Jesse was probably referring to, even though I'm choosing to kind of ignore that. The pre-chorus has a 1, 4, 6, 5 structure, which is a little on the unconventional side because it's technically backwards, but I like it. And then the chorus actually starts on a 4-chord and goes 4, 5, 1, 6, which is kind of that 50s chord progression, but starting in the middle, because I don't particularly like the 50s chord progression when it starts on 1. Alright, and then that goes through, and then the bridge and also the tag at the end start on that minor 6 and go 6, 4, 1, 5. So I only use those 4 chords through the entire song, even though they change order here and there. But yeah, there it is. And I'm going to practice it a few more times before I actually perform it for you, but I will actually perform it for you after this jump cut. So, jump cut. Here we go. Yes, I'm wearing a different shirt than I was. That's because I'm filming this on a different day, but I promise I haven't changed anything in the song. I just had to film it on a different day. It's probably going to be a little rough, and hopefully you'll actually be able to hear the words and everything over the keyboard, but here goes. Galas, Fujis, Honeycrisps, pink ladies and red Delish. Stack them neatly in a row. Apples done, now time to go. On to the citrus, bananas, pears. Get that bad one off of there. Get some stone fruit on your cart. That's life in the produce department. 40 hours every week spent stocking apples, potatoes, and leeks. Listening to managers genuflect about best practices and freshness checks. Trying to act like you give a damn about whether you rotated the yams. It's not the way you had your life planned, so you go home and start a band. It's just guitar, bass, kit, and keys, but you know you can play whatever you please. The playing is rough and sometimes a bore, but it beats what they're playing over at your store. You go out and play a gig or two. It's just nice to have something to do besides put bananas on a table, so you play as much as you are able. And then the next day, Roma's heirlooms on the vines. Beefsteak tomatoes look just fine. Throw away the spotted ones and then go home and have some fun. Just playing some music with your friends for an ever-growing audience. And things just go on in this vein until one day there comes a change. A guy says that he likes your sound and he knows how to get you album bound. He says he can make it so you force and quit your jobs at the grocery store. He says your music's fresh and new. He can get the whole nation to listen to you. And now a whole new life's begun. You quit your job. That life is done, and now you find yourselves on the road to fame and fortune in massive loads. Your fan base grows exponentially, and you think this can be reality. They say that you're the next big sound, and they're gonna love you as long as you're around. You go have your fun out with your friends. You wish that this could never end, and then the next day. Would be too good to last. You should have known that this honeymoon would pass. Your audience slowly begins to turn. You find your friends are getting on your nerves. You don't want to do this anymore. Can you get your job back at the grocery store? Peaches, mangoes, nectarines, the mold on that plum is obscene. And as you work another day, your band's own song begins to play. Someone says, I hate this song, they've been playing it for way too long. This music is outdated and bland, and they go home and start a band. Just guitar, bass, kit, and keys, but they know they can play whatever they please. The playing is rough and sometimes a bore, but it beats what they're playing over at the store. And as you watch them catch the flame, you hope they're never given fame, so they can just keep having fun and not worry about being number one. So that the next day they continue to play and not and started a band. Did that in one take. So, thoughts on this particular experience. I think the most frustrating thing about this whole thing is the fact that I had to stick to those 4 chords. I think the hardest part for me was not adding more chords, because I do try to do more than just 4 chords. Or if I do a 4-chord song, I try to make the 4 chords a little bit more interesting than just the 1, 5, 6, 4 progression. I do like maybe a 1, 5, flat 7, 4, like that, you know, something like that. Something a little bit more interesting that isn't done as often. But overall, I enjoyed this. The song is ridiculous, but that's just kind of what I do when I write songs for YouTube. For reference, you can go back a few years when I did a song every month and see some of the ridiculous songs that I wrote. But yeah, so this was an interesting experience, and actually more difficult musically than I thought it was going to be. So thank you, Jesse, for the challenge. This was fun, and until next time, friends and fellow VEDSies, I'll see you tomorrow.